Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. Guys, smash the like button on this video, hit the subscribe button, share the video as always, guys. Guys, I want to get into this. Some very interesting news has emerged. Actually, I was going to make a Ryan Garcia and Jermell Charlo Tim Tszyu video, but actually some news that Eddie Hearn from an interview did, which I think has to be discussed. I will be doing the Jermell Charlo Tszyu and Ryan Garcia Fortuna preview tomorrow. Because, you know, we're a couple of days out, so I think it'd probably be best to release that video tomorrow. But apparently Eddie Hearn is trying to block Dmitry Bivol, Gilberto Ramirez, or not block, but basically what he's trying to do, he's filed an exemption with the WBA to get the Joshua Buatsi fight against Dmitry Bivol next, instead of Gilberto Ramirez. I don't know how I feel about that. Look, I've liked Eddie Hearn. I think he's a great promoter. He's obviously trying to make that fight between his guy. I'm not interested in the Buatsi fight, and why Eddie Hearn would file an exemption. What for? It's not like Buatsi's a champion. It's not like, you know, the Gilberto Ramirez. I don't think the WBA will approve. I think the WBA will reject the request. I think, of giving my opinion, I think the Gilberto Ramirez fight is a much bigger fight globally. I think Gilberto Ramirez brings a Mexican fan base, and I think what Eddie Hearn's trying to do is trying to keep his fight in-house. And what he's trying to do is he's probably looking at it, if Gilberto Ramirez beats Bivol, he'll lose that belt. And then that fight between Canelo won't happen with his guy. And Canelo could probably fight Gilberto Ramirez, which will be on DAZN as well, because obviously Canelo fights on, well, he's fighting on DAZN, and Gilberto fights on with Oscar, with Golden Boy. So maybe he wants to be in control. However, whoever wins is going to have to, even if he gets that exemption, he's going to have to fight Gilberto Ramirez anyway. The point I'm trying to make is that I'm not really interested in the Joshua Buatsi fight, and I don't think the fans are really interested in the Joshua Buatsi fight. Eddie Hearn is kind of being selfish there, because I think the fans would rather see, the fans don't want to see, I'm British, I don't want to see Buatsi v Bivol. I don't think that's that interesting a fight. I think Gilberto Ramirez is a much more interesting fight. He's more proven. He's more well-known. You know, Buatsi ain't really fought anybody. So really, neither is Ramirez, but Ramirez is a much bigger name. He's also been a world champion, something that Buatsi hasn't. Even though at a lighter weight class, it doesn't matter. You know, I still think, you know, Ramirez has fought better opposition than what Buatsi has. And I don't think I would rather see a Ramirez fight. I would rather see a Ramirez fight over Joshua Buatsi. So I'm a bit disappointed at that news that Eddie Hearn would be trying to block. I thought Eddie Hearn would be actually trying to make that fight. It's not like he's filing an exemption because Buatsi's a mandatory. Like, I understand he needs to deliver. I mean, he's filing an exemption because Buatsi's a champion and they want to unify. This is a guy that's just, what does Buatsi bring? Nothing. Really, what does Buatsi bring? I don't quite understand. I think he's just trying to do. He's trying to get one of his guys a big fight that he's probably promised, and he's failed. And he knows that if the Buatsi fight don't happen next, there's a chance that Canelo will fight Bivol in May, and Buatsi may not be able to get a big fight. So what he's trying to do is he's trying to fit Buatsi. And Buatsi, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think he's mandatory. He's not mandatory because Gilberto Ramirez is mandatory, and if Bivol fights Gilberto Ramirez next, which will be a pretty big fight, Buatsi is a voluntary defense. You know, and at the end of the day, Dmitry Bivol should have a say on who he wants to fight. Why is Eddie Hearn filing an exemption? Is that because Dmitry Bivol has given Hearn those instructions? Because Hearn always says, I work for the fighter. Surely Dmitry Bivol is giving out those instructions. I'm pretty sure that Eddie Hearn doesn't have that control over Dmitry Bivol. So is Dmitry Bivol, after all, trying to avoid Gilberto Ramirez after all? Or is it Eddie Hearn trying to get one of his guys an opportunity in Buatsi? But the point I'm trying to make, as a neutral boxing fan, I don't have much interest in Buatsi. Like, if you're asking me what fight would I rather see, as a British fan, I'd rather see Dmitry Bivol with Gilberto Ramirez, because I think it's a more interesting fight. I think there's a better narrative. I think there's a better story to be sold here. By the way, I think Bivol beats them both. So the point I'm trying to make is I don't like this. I don't like this from Eddie Hearn. I don't know. It's not like he's trying to put in an exemption for a fight that is way better. It's not way better. You know, it's actually worse. So what is the purpose of making Bivol Buatsi? Why not just have Bivol Ramirez bigger fight globally is a better... Well, at this point, Gilberto Ramirez is a former world champion, something that Buatsi's never been. So I just don't see... I think he has a bigger audience. I think it's because Gilberto Ramirez is Mexican. There could be a storyline that's sold that Gilberto Ramirez could look for revenge for Canelo. You know, there's a lot that can be promoted. With a Buatsi fight, it's just a voluntary defense with someone that Eddie Hearn promotes, basically. I'm not interested, if I'm totally honest with you. And I think it would be disappointing from Hearn if he blocks this fight, because that's essentially, well, it's either two. It's either Bivol ducking, right, or trying to avoid Ramirez, or it's Eddie Hearn trying to get one of his guys an opportunity instead. I don't see how Dmitry... and the other thing is, let's not forget, Eddie Hearn is under pressure in the UK to deliver big fights. He's under pressure, so that could be another thing as well. That Eddie Hearn is under pressure. He hasn't really put on any big fights in the UK and not to say this is a groundbreaking fight by any stretch, Buatsi Bivol, but it's definitely be one of his biggest marquee fights that he would have done since he's joined DAZN. So I can see why he wants that. He's putting an exemption and why he wants that fight in the UK. And I think it's more of a business move from his part, which is fair enough. He's going to do that. At the end of the day, he's not thinking about the whole boxing fans. He's thinking about his business and his fighters, which is fair enough. That's his job. But for me, it's underwhelming. I'm not very interested in... But I watch Bivol Buatsi, but I'd rather see Ramirez Bivol. It's a much better fight. It's a much better fight. It's more interesting. It's a bigger fight. Of course, Hearn's very good with words, so he'll find a way to twist it and say, no, Bivol Buatsi, it's not a bigger fight. You know, most people don't even know who Buatsi is. Ramirez is a much bigger name, in my opinion, over in the US especially. I think that fight makes a lot more sense. It's not like Buatsi and Bivol are going to do record-breaking numbers here. I just think it's the fact that Eddie Hearn's under pressure to deliver Buatsi a big fight, and he's under pressure to put on a big fight in the UK, which he hasn't really done since he's gone to DAZN. He hasn't really put on a big mega fight. And not to say this is a mega fight. Bivol Buatsi is not a mega fight, but I think he's under pressure. Hence why he's filing in an exemption. I don't think the WBA are going to accept it, because I think they'll look at it and Ramirez is a big name. They'll look at the fight and think that, no, Bivol's a bigger fight. And also, Ramirez is mandatory. So, you know, you've got to defend against your mandatory. So I can't see them. And it's not like, what grounds is he filing that exemption with? What can he say in his argument? Why should the WBA accept Buatsi's exemption? What is Buatsi's year? What is he? He's never been a champion. He's not a mandatory. He's not another champion where they can unify. There's nothing. Buatsi doesn't really bring anything to the table. He doesn't bring anything to the table that the WBA will give him an exemption for. Yeah, that's not going to happen in my opinion. So it'd be pretty disappointing if this fight fell through because there was an exemption. Like I said, I can't see the WBA granting him exemption. I can't. As I just don't see it. I don't see why they would. Why would you? Why would you grant Eddie Hearn exemption for him to fight Buatsi? I just don't see the point. What is there to gain from for the WBA? This is a much bigger fight. It's globally, in my opinion, it'd be a much bigger attraction. And yeah, I think Eddie Hearn is doing that probably for selfish reasons. You know, like I just said to you, he's struggling in the UK. He's trying to deliver a big fight in the UK. He's now lost the Joshua Usyk fight to Sky. He's struggling. He's trying to get big fights on DAZN and he can't. He can't get big fights on DAZN. Like, what's the biggest fight? I was actually having a chat with my boys on Between the Ropes TV, and then we were having a discussion about this, that he can't deliver a big fight on DAZN. You know, he hasn't delivered anything super on DAZN. So this fight would be probably the biggest in terms of marking him, especially now that Bivol's beaten Canelo. You know, it'd be a biggish fight, but it's not an interesting fight for me. I think the Ramirez fight is much bigger. I think it's more interesting. I think there's a narrative that can be sold. It's just a bit like the Beterbiev Yard fight. I think it's a nothing type of fight. Really, the fight that should be being made is Bivol and Beterbiev. But because of broadcaster issues, that's not going to be made. That's really the fight. That's really the fight. So, yeah, I'm a bit disappointed with this news. And if this is blocked by Hearn, I'd be pretty disappointed. You know, because I'm not really interested in Buatsi v Bivol. I don't think it's an interesting fight. I think it's not a great fight personally. I don't really like that fight. I'll watch it, but I'd prefer Bivol Ramirez. I think it's a much bigger fight. So yeah, that's my take. I think Hearn's doing it because he's under pressure. That's what I think. But leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.